Introduction to Listing and Selling Commercial Investment Properties. Introduction. Objectives. This course introduces real estate practitioners to the fundamental knowledge and working mechanics of listing and selling commercial investment properties. It provides learners with a hands-on approach to the opportunities of listing and selling commercial investment properties. Learners will walk away from the class with real-life experience in analyzing, listing, and selling commercial investment properties. At the end of the class, learners should be able to 1. Use the right agreement form for different scenarios of agency representation and listing fee agreement in commercial real estate. 2. Identify major differences between working with sellers when listing commercial investment properties versus residential properties. 3. Identify major differences between working with buyers when selling commercial investment properties versus residential properties. 4. Use annual property operating data, APOD, net operating income, NOI, and cap rate to price commercial investment properties. 5. Using a case study, analyze opportunities for commercial investment properties as a listing or selling agent. Basic concepts of commercial investment properties. What is commercial real estate, CRE? Any multifamily residential, office, industrial, or retail property that can be bought or sold in a real estate market, NAR. Any non-residential property used for commercial profit-making purposes. Any property owned to produce income. General characteristics of investments. Liquidity. Ability to convert an asset to cash quickly without loss of much value. Marketability. Ability to convert asset into cash quickly at any price. Leverage. Use of borrowed funds to finance an investment. Management. Cost of monitoring an investment. Asset management. Monitoring of the investment's financial performance. Property management. Monitoring the overall day-to-day operation of the property. Tax efficiency. Ability to minimize tax liability. Return on investment, ROI, measurement used to evaluate the efficiency of an investment, a gauge of its profitability. Risk, possibility of losing principal and/or potential income. Benefits of commercial real estate investments. Cash flow, capital appreciation, equity build up from mortgage paydown. Tax efficiency in taxable capital gain and tax deferral in capital cost allowance. Own occupancy use. Brick versus click. Introduction to listing and selling commercial investment properties, your agency relationship with consumers. In this section, the emphasis is not on explaining the duties and responsibilities realtors owe to consumers, but on realtors choosing the right listing fee agreements under different combinations of agency relationships and payor situations so as to get paid. There are 3 agency relationships you can have with consumers. 1. Designated agency. 2. Limited dual agency. 3. Customer relationship. Hence, you can either 1. Represent seller only, or 2. Represent buyer only, or 3. Represent both buyer and seller under limited dual agency agreement, or 4. Do not represent either buyer or seller. There are also 4 types of payor scenarios. 1. Seller pays you, buyer does not pay you. 2. Buyer pays you, seller does not pay you. 3. Both buyer and seller pay you. 4. Neither pay you. There should be a different listing fee agreement that corresponds to different payor scenarios under different agency representation. BCREA provides forms that apply to these scenarios, and in the next section we will explore the following forms, which can be found in the appendices and through web forms online. BCREA listing contract fee agreement forms as of January 2016. Appendix A. All right, and here's a list of all the different forms. So there's a multiple listing contract. B, Appendix B, exclusive listing contract. C, limited dual agency agreement. D, fee agreement, seller pays, buyer represented, seller not represented. E, fee agreement, seller pays. F, buyer's agency exclusive contract. G, fee agreement, buyer pays. H, fee agreement, buyer pays. Who's going to pay your commission? Seller pays. You see there's a little box at the top here. It says seller pays. There's an arrow going down here. It says represent seller. So there's either a no or a yes. The no here goes over here. It says represent buyer, no or yes. If you say no, it says fee agreement, seller pays, buyer and seller not represented. All right, let's go back here. Pretty intricate. So represent seller, yes. So you have a choice between represent the buyer, yes or no. If it's no, multiple listing contract, Appendix A, or exclusive listing contract, Appendix B. If it's yes, there's a multiple listing contract, A, exclusive listing contract, B, and limited dual agency, C. If we go back here, seller pays, represent seller, no, represent buyer. If we say yes, then it's fee agreement, seller pays, buyer represented, seller not represented. Hope that makes sense. So who's going to pay your commission? Buyer pays. So buyer pays. So you represent the buyer. If no, you represent seller. If no again, there's a fee agreement, buyer pays, buyer and seller not represented, Appendix H. If you say yes to represent the seller, fee agreement, buyer pays, seller represented, buyer not represented, Appendix G. So if you go down here again, buyer pays, represent buyer, yes. So we say represent seller. If it's a no, buyer's agency exclusive contract, Appendix F, or fee agreement, buyer pays, buyer represented, seller not represented. If we say yes to represent the seller, we say fee agreement, buyer pays, buyer and seller represented. So use the right form. Scenario 1. You sold John and Hillary their home 1 year ago. John is a partner in a litigation law firm, while Hillary is the chief accountant of a public agency. They have just inherited a portfolio of commercial investment properties that is worth $30 million scattered around the Lower Mainland. Today you receive a call from Hillary asking if you want to meet her and John to discuss about listing one of their apartment buildings in the Metrotown area. 1.1, who do you represent and who pays you in this listing contract situation? So who do you think it is? Answer the question. 1.1. Which listing contracts or agreement forms should be included in your listing package? During the meeting, John talks about not wanting every realtor in the province to know that the property is for sale. So 1-2, which listing contracts or agreement forms should you provide to John and Hillary instead, since he wants to keep it secret? And then we have 1-2.1, who do you represent and who pays you in this listing contract situation? 1-3, what are the pros and cons of using the exclusive listing contract, ELS, versus the multiple listing contract, MLS? exclusive listing contract market exposure. So say something about that. Listing agents' control on the listing for the exclusive. Confidentiality, what about that for the exclusive? Rules and regulations on the listing, how about that for exclusive? So how about for the multiple listing contract? Market exposure, listing agents' control on the listing, confidentiality, rules and regulations on the listing. 1-4, if a buyer also wants you to represent him, what agreement form do you need the buyer and John and Hillary to sign before presenting the offer? All right. Scenario 2. You sold Peter and Mary their home a year ago. Peter is a doctor and Mary is a dentist. They have bought a portfolio of commercial investment properties that is worth $30 million scattered around the Lower Mainland in the past 2 years. Today, you receive a call from Mary telling you that they want to buy an apartment building in the Metrotown area, and they have located the building themselves already. Peter and Mary like the building so much that they want to put an offer on right away. You immediately prepare a contract of purchase and sale for the property. Peter and Mary want you to be their agent, and they expect this seller will pay you the commission. 2-1, who do you represent, and who pays you in this situation? 2-1.1, which listing contracts or agreement forms should you provide to the owner of the building and to Peter and Mary to secure your commission? Before the offer presentation, the owner of the property, Michael, tells you that he is not prepared to pay your commission. He also does not need any real estate agent to represent him. You have to go to Peter and Mary to get paid. 2-2, who do you represent and who pays you in this situation? 2-2.1, what listing contracts or agreement forms should you provide to Peter and Mary if they agree to pay your commission instead? Scenario 3. You bought Peter and Mary their home a year ago. Peter is a doctor and Mary is a dentist. They have bought a portfolio of commercial investment properties that is worth $30 million scattered around the Lower Mainland in the past 2 years. Today you receive a call from Mary telling you that they want to buy an apartment building in the Metrotown area in the next 6 months. Peter and Mary want you to be their exclusive agent to find property, and they are prepared to pay you commission at 2% of the purchase price. If you are offered the cooperating agent's commission of other agents' listing that is less than 2%, they agree to pay you the shortfall. 3-1, who do you represent and who pays you in this situation? 3-1.1, what listing contracts or agreement forms should you provide to Peter and Mary? Scenario 4. You are a very successful and well-known realtor in your area. One day, you have an unsolicited call from the owner of a commercial investment property called Michael. He is a very sophisticated investor, and he tells you that his property is ready for sale. He indicates to you that he knows his stuff and he does not think a realtor will represent his interests. Just bring the offer and I will pay you. You immediately search your database and locate a prospect, Paul, who you met a long time ago. However, Paul is notorious in the industry as being very untrustworthy and tends to sue everybody on his way. The last thing you want to do is to represent him. 4-1, who do you represent and who pays you in this situation? 4-1.1, what listing contracts or agreement forms should you provide to Michael and Paul before bringing Paul's offer to Michael? Paul's offer price is so low that Michael tells you that you have to ask the buyer to pay your commission to make the deal work. And Paul agrees to pay you the commission. 4-2, who do you represent and who pays you in this situation? 4-2.1, what listing contracts or agreement forms should you provide to Michael and Paul instead?